Hello there, I'm Kim Warren Martin, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to this broadcast of the Successful and Fulfilled Digital Summit. Today's trainer, E.R. Spaulding, or Spaulding as she prefers to be called, is an integration strategist for evolving leaders who choose a transformational way of being, thinking, and doing. As the creator of the Ascension Code, a customizable strategic integration program, she teaches a whole new way to combine purpose, passion, prosperity, and profit into your life, business, and leadership. As the founder of Black Woman Startup, she helps high-achieving professional and corporate Black women who have a dream to start their own business without starting over to build seven-figure businesses. Spaulding has addressed audiences around the world and is especially excited about the opportunity to bring her personal brand of brilliance to you. If you want a methodology to manifest seven-figure results and become a part of the hashtag Seven-Figure Nation, make sure you have pen and paper and give 100% attention to the incomparable E.R. Spaulding as she trains on seven-figure woman, seven-figure results, hashtag Seven-Figure Nation in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome. My name is E.R. Spaulding, and I am so very excited to be here with you today. When I got the call from my very good friend Kim Warren Martin that she was putting on the Successful and Fulfilled Summit and that she wanted me to participate, there was absolutely no way that I was going to turn her down. If you are just joining us, you are in for a phenomenal treat. I hope that you have been really paying attention to all of the trainers that have been here with the Successful and Fulfilled Summit, because this is really about you as a woman and living out your best and most successful and fulfilled life. Again, my name is E.R. Spaulding, and I am the founder of Black Woman Startup, which is an institute, an organization, a community, a nation of Black women who have decided that they are going to start new endeavors in their life inside of the entrepreneurship space. Because for this very same reason that you may be here today, they were highly, highly successful in everything that they were doing inside of their career space. But when they went home at night and when they closed their eyes, there was something that didn't settle right. There was a part of them that did not feel fulfilled in the work that they were doing. And so they have chosen to take all of that phenomenal career success and focus it, integrate it into the same high level of business success. So Black Woman Startup is the nation, I would say, for Black women to go ahead and do that and start their own businesses. So again, I'm so very excited to be here with you today, and I want you to do a couple of things for me. I want you to go ahead and get settled. Make sure that all of the distractions are away. Tell the children to go and have a snack, close the door, tell your partner, hey, I need a little bit of me time, because this training is going to be supportive in not only in your life, but also in your business. The next thing I want you to do before we get started, go ahead and grab something to drink. You're going to be here for a minute, and I promise you it is going to be a phenomenal training, but grab something to drink. And in a moment, make sure that you also have pen and a piece of paper, because you want to ensure that you take copious notes as we are here in the Successful and Fulfilled Conference. All right, so without any further delay, I am going to switch my screen here a little bit, and we are going to get started, because what I am phenomenal at, what I am absolutely passionate about, is making sure that you, if you choose to be in business, not only are you in business, but you are creating for yourself a seven-figure business. So I am getting ready to go here and share my screen. and we are going to get started. So, this is really talking to that woman who is looking to create a seven-figure business. You are the one that's looking to create those seven-figure results inside of your life. And we're going to talk about what some of those formulas are in order for you to do that. So the first thing is that we manifest results, right? We just don't allow the results to show up. We are the ones who are sitting at the helm, and we are the generators of those results. But anytime that you move in order to generate results or manifest results, you have to make sure that you have a methodology in place, which is tested, right? You just don't want to go into the kitchen and begin baking a cake and you've never baked a cake before. Chances are that at the end of the day, you'll have something. You may have some batter, you may have some wet stuff in your bowl, flour and water, but at the end of the day, you probably will not have the cake that you intended because you did not go in there with a formula. You did not set yourself up for success because there was not a recipe, and having all of the right ingredients, and not only the right ingredients, but the right ingredients in the right order. And so generating seven figures inside of your business is the same thing like baking a cake. There is a formula that you have the opportunity to follow. And so let's look at the definition of a methodology. And it really is the process or the system that I use to produce results first for myself, then my business, and then the people that I am called to serve. Again, a methodology is the process or the system that I use, that you use to manifest, to produce results for yourself, for your business, and then those individuals that you are called to serve. There's one thing that we want to ensure that we do not do. And again, that is going inside of the kitchen and we're just pulling random items outside of the refrigerator. And then we turn around and we say, hey, I'm opening up a bakery right now. Come and eat whatever it is that I've produced. One, you want to make sure that you have the ability to produce a cake over and over and over again, that you receive the same results, the sweetness, the saltiness, everything that's supposed to be inside of that cake, that you can replicate and manifest those results for yourself over and over and over again. And then you can move into building a business where you are asking other individuals to come in and participate in that process with you. And then, of course, if you turn around and decide that you want to have a baking business where you are showing other individuals how to bake phenomenal cakes, that again, this methodology is there for you in order to do that. So some of you may be sitting back and asking yourself, is this presentation designed for me? I know that Spaulding stated that she works specifically with Black women, but even though that is my calling, my passion, those are the individuals that I speak to because of my own unique experiences, this is still designed for you because at the end of the day, what we have the ability to do is to create a methodology that works, that will support us in not only being successful, but fulfilled in our lives. Because when we stated that we wanted to start a business, we didn't state that we wanted to start over. And I'm sure you're one of those individuals that because you are choosing to transition out of your career so that you can begin to live out a life that is more fulfilling for you, you didn't necessarily state that you wanted to start at the bottom or that you wanted to start your journey over. So if you've ever had those sleepless nights, like I talked about before, and I'm so very acutely aware of that because on the outside, everything is looking good. You have the house, you have the car, you have the 2.5 kids, the dog, the picket fence, all of those things, whatever that looks like for you or the world on the outside, all of that's looking good. But when you go home at night, you're restless. You really can't sleep. You're thinking about, is this all? Is there something more for me? If that's you, then yeah, this training is for you. Are you overworked and underpaid? You're going to work and you are the one that is putting in the hours, the extra hours, the 12, the 13. Mostly everyone else is working 40, maybe 45 hours a week, and you're clocking in 60, close to 70. And you're asking yourself, why am I doing this? Then this training is probably for you. If you were standing in that space where it's like, you know what, I quit. You want to go in there kicking and screaming every single day and telling your boss, you know what, this is just not for me anymore. Then yeah, this is for you. Or maybe you have kind of started a business doing what I like to say, this side hustle, where you are putting a little bit of energy into it, but you are not really generating all of the money that you see for yourself. And so that revenue is kind of inconsistent, then this is definitely a place that you want to step into. Or you find that whatever it is that you're doing, these bills that you have are overdue. You're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you're trying to figure this out because you're saying, I'm a good person. I did everything they told me to do. I went to school, or you got the certifications, or you figured out what the trade was going to be. But somehow dollars are not making sense to you at all. This is what successful and fulfilled this summit is all about, because we are looking at all of the different areas in your life, from your mindset to the wealth and your finances, and then also the businesses that may be inside of you that you are looking to birth. So I've just been talking a lot, and we've identified that some of these things that we're going to discuss, that you find that, yeah, I've had sleepless nights or inconsistent revenue, but I haven't really told you a lot about me. Again, my name is E.R. Spaulding, founder of Black Woman Startup, but really why I started Black Woman Startup is because of the entrepreneurial journey that I went on. But I didn't start off as an entrepreneur. I started off as a high achieving woman that went into the workspace, and I pretty much rocked out anything that I had put my mind to in order to do. And everyone knew it. Well, one day, and the places that I worked were really phenomenal. They had great callings. I mean, I've been in more continents than I can imagine with the work that I'm doing and helping individuals create businesses for themselves. That was part of what I did as a project and portfolio manager, and in addition to being an operations specialist, where I looked to support individuals with integrating both their human, their technological resources all together to really have businesses that were booming. And so I was working for an organization, and I was the director of operations, and I had a wonderful life going for myself. And so we had an outside human resource firm come inside, and they were just doing what they thought was going to be a general analysis, again, to making sure that those human resources really matched up with the skill set and the job performance. Well, at the end of it, they came back and they said, whoa, Spaulding is a rock star, and you all need to take her from the director of operations, and we feel that you really can maximize what it is that she's doing if she becomes the VP of one of the vertical business units. Well, the individuals at the top, all of the other executives, felt that that was a great idea, and they brought me in and they were like, Spaulding, this is what's getting ready to happen. We're going to promote you to VP. We were great. We popped champagne. We went out on the town that evening. And then the following day, we came in to start talking about what this transition would look like, what the new role would entail, and how we would begin to move into it. And we were moving phenomenally until someone said, all right, well, let's talk about salary. And I'm like, woohoo, let's talk about salary. And then they told me, Spaulding, it's going to be a 30% pay cut for you. And I exactly. I know you're sitting on the other side just as dumbfounded as I was. What are you talking about? A 30% pay decrease? And I just got a promotion? And their rationale was, well, Spaulding, you crush any of your KPIs that we've set in front of you, which are KPIs, key performance indicators. And we know that you are a phenomenal worker. You'll go in and you'll turn this around. And what we'll do is we'll make sure that that is included inside of your bonus structure, because we know that you're going to hit and then surpass the mark. So don't worry, your salary is actually going to be that much more. We're just going to wait and make sure that we give it to you at the end once you hit your numbers. And so I smiled, right? And on the inside, I was completely confused, but I wound up going home and I asked them to give me a week to think about it, which of course they did. And when I came back, the week was up. I looked at them and I was like, you know what? This is really a great and phenomenal opportunity for me, but I'm going to have to decline. And we'll take the next 90 days, which would have put us at the end of the year. We'll take the next 90 days and we'll create the transition plan. We will hire the 5 individuals that it's going to take to replace little old me, and I'll train them up or whatever, and we'll part ways as friends. And if ever you need anything, I'll come back in a consultancy role. Because what I had realized in that week, that I had an opportunity to kind of decompress, is that I was highly successful, but I wasn't fulfilled. And because I wasn't fulfilled in my own life and what it was that I was doing, I had inadvertently given other individuals permission to use and abuse me, because I was not making sure that I was leading my life to the fullest of my capabilities. And so I set out on my entrepreneurial journey. And what happened rocked me to the very core. Because as I stated, I had always been this high achieving girl that turned into a high achieving young woman, that turned into a high achieving career person. But that career success did not translate into the business success that I thought. And so I bumped around a lot. And I mean, I went to a lot of conferences and did all of the things that I was supposed to do. And the translation of that success, it knocked me back. And so again, we are here because we want to make sure that we can take that success and turn it into something that is completely fulfilling. And this is why I do what I do, and I serve in the way that I am supposed to serve. Because what I have learned is sometimes you win, and I had to shift my perspective, and then sometimes you learn. So I am here to share with you all of my learnings. So what have I learned? That high achieving women, we never quit. When the going got tough and I was on that inconsistent revenue roller coaster, when I was robbing Peter to pay Paul in order to make my business endeavor work, there were plenty of opportunities that I could have thrown in the towel, put in my resume somewhere, my CV, and gotten a 6-figure that could have led into 7-figure with bonuses, right? I could have easily done that. But then I would have been quitting on myself, and I would have found myself in a position where I wasn't fulfilled yet again, and giving other people permission to allow themselves to place me in a position where I would not be fulfilled. So what did I learn? I learned that you navigate. You never negotiate in your life or in your business, because when you start negotiating with who you are, with your self-worth, with what you produce, you give others permission to negotiate with you, which is the place that I found myself in as I was negotiating a salary that was rightfully, I had earned it. It was rightfully mine. So you're here because you're a high achieving woman. And I know that anything that you have decided to do in your life, you're not going to quit. on you. So let's get started. So is it possible for you to make seven figures? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is it going to take a methodology? Absolutely. It's going to take that too. But we are here and up for the challenge. So this is going to require you learning some things. You will have to unlearn some behaviors that you've had before, but in the process, you are absolutely going to learn. Because that's what high achieving women do. That's what successful women do. We are constantly in this space where we are wanting and needing, we yearn to learn, right? And it'll also require some training. Again, let's go back to our baking cake scenario, right? Even if you have a recipe, you go in there the first time and it's not perfect, right? You have lumps that are sometimes in the cake. You didn't check the oven to make sure that the temperature, so it was a little gummy in the middle. You may not have had all of your flavors balanced out right. It's okay. That's part of the learning process. But you don't quit and you go back in and you do it over and over and over again until you get your rhythm and you have trained in a particular way that allows you to be successful. So when we're thinking about being successful in our business, know that it is a training ground for you. And it is also going to require the right environment. Say it with me, environment matters. Go ahead and put that down in the feed, right? Environment matters. And I don't know if I can state this enough. You must be in the right environment. So I said I'm a high achieving woman, right? And mostly I have been in the business space and technology, telecommunications, and a lot of different things. But secretly, I am a nerd. You're probably a nerd too, and it's okay. Nerds rule. But in my spare time, I just like to read and do a lot of different research on random things, but those are random things that have interest to me and who I am. So I came across this very interesting article, and this article was about the Rip Van Winkle classification of flowers. I know, right? And it's only been out, say, within the past 20 to 30 years. So what does that look like? This Rip Van Winkle classification of flowers are flowers that are now going dormant, right? So they're not blooming, they're not blossoming, but they're not dying. They're just choosing not to bloom for upwards of 20 years. So essentially, these flowers and the seeds that they hold that could germinate are actually sitting there and just sleeping for 20 years. And why are they doing that? Because our environment is changing. We are in the midst of global warming. There are, these concrete jungles that we love so much called cities that are popping up. And so the environment is not conducive for them to bloom. So have you asked yourself, am I blooming? Do I feel this level of unfulfillment in my life because I'm not in the right environment? So when we begin to think about how we can be successful and fulfilled, we want to ensure that one, we are learning constantly. We also want to ensure that we are training with what we are learning. And we also have to be in the right environment in order to blossom and bloom. So we may have to prune away some of those relationships that don't work, some of the negative feedback that we are hearing from other individuals who may not understand the journey that you are on in life. So remember that. And again, write that down. Environment matters. So where do I start? It's like, Spaulding, you said a lot, you're speaking to me, I'm listening, but now how do I get my engine started, right? How do I make sure that I'm learning what it is that I need to learn, that I am training with it and training properly, right? Because that's another element of it. And then that I'm in the right environment. Like, all of this is great and new information, but where do I start? And I always say at the beginning, right? You've got to start at the beginning. And it's like, duh, should have had a V8. That was like brilliant. I know. It's But we want to make sure that we start at the beginning. And so to help you start at the beginning and to make sure that you are infusing all of this, I've prepared a workbook for you. So I want you to go ahead and grab your phone and text 7 figures to 773-992-1652. Again, that is 773-992-1652. And you're going to text the keyword 7, the number 7, figures. And you want to do that to 773-992-1652. And so you'll be able to have a workbook that you'll download so you can go through this training with me so that you don't miss out on any of the important elements and you can always go back with it. Okay, so you must answer a critical question. Going back to the beginning, you have to start with the question, right? Learning is all about questioning everything that you thought you knew so that you could reformulate it in ways that you didn't know imaginable. Again, let's continue with our cake thing, right? There was someone who said, oh my God, this vanilla cake is great, but what would happen if I added a little cocoa to the flour? And thus, innovation came and we got chocolate cake. Who doesn't love chocolate cake? So it always starts with the question. So what is the question that you should be asking as you go into business? And it's like, you're in the problem-solving business. That is the question. What type of business am I in? And the answer is you are in the problem-solving business. So as an entrepreneur, that is your baseline. What business am I in? A problem-solving business. And so in that, there are some elements that you must understand, that the size of the problems you solve directly correlate with the amount of revenue that you'll generate. That's another one of those things that you want to write down. So I'll say it again and I'll do it slowly. The size of the problem you solve directly correlates with the amount of revenue that you'll generate. Let's look a little bit further. So in that, you have two choices. And those two choices are you can solve really huge, big problems, right? The behemoth of the behemoth, like how do I cure cancer, right? That is a really big problem. Or you can solve lots of problems, right? So what would lots of problems look like? That would be maybe like your target. In one place, you have a lot of problems that are solved, right? You have healthcare that's in there, you have baby care that's in there, you have clothing, you have food, if you have super targets. So you are addressing a whole lot of problems in one space. So in addition to understanding that you are in the problem-solving business, you have two choices. And the choices are, do I solve big problems or do I solve lots of problems inside of my business? And so you have to really step inside of the space of deciding, do you have a boutique model or do you have a volume model, right? That boutique model is very upscale. I only serve this very niche, particular clientele, and you have zoned in on it. I am an haute couture designer, and that is the only thing that I provide. Or do you have a volume model? Do you pump out a lot of those different things? So for instance, you can be like a lens crafter, right? And lens crafter, even though they only have a singular focus in terms of sunglasses or contacts, particularly just things that help you see better, they pump out lots and lots and lots of different types of glasses, whether it's bifocals or reading glasses, right? But in the other instance, the boutique model is I only do custom dresses. And I probably, because of the time and the attention and the detail that I put inside of my dresses, you may only produce 12, possibly 14 dresses, right, a year. So you're only doing one customized dress a year. So ask yourself, do you have a boutique model or do you have a volume model? And so again, you are in the problem solving business. So how you solve the problem really matters. And there are 4 types of solutions. So again, you start off with, what type of business am I in? And if you understand your baseline, you are in the problem solving business. And how you solve the problem directly correlates with the amount of revenue that you will generate. And the choices inside of that are, do I have a boutique model or do I have a volume model? Now, again, your revenue will depend upon how you do that and the cycle in which your revenue comes in. But now we're going to take a step back, and we know that we're in the problem solving business, and there are 4 types of solutions. Okay. And so again, we are talking about what is the methodology to get you to your 7 figures. And so you go from understanding you solve problems, and the types of problems you solve really, really matter. And are you going to have a boutique model or a volume model? Now we're moving a little bit closer or deeper inside of the formula in understanding that there are actually 4 types of solution in either model, right? The boutique or the volume, that you want to ensure that you create for the individuals that come inside of your business ecosystem. Okay, so here we go. And what are those 4 types of solutions? DIY, DWY, DFY, and SBS. I know, you're like, okay, I probably can figure out the first one, right? DIY, we've heard that. I love renovation shows. It's like, do it yourself. Funny story, but real quickly. So my mom was in the hospital. And so my sister and I decided that we were going to be, has anyone ever seen the show Weekend Warriors? Yeah. So we decided that we were going to be weekend warriors. And so she had her surgery, was going to be in the hospital literally like 3 or 4 days. And we decided that we were going to take on the challenge of redoing her bedroom. And so we stripped everything out. And I mean, right, because Weekend Warriors, we were watching it and we just knew high achieving women that we could do it. So we stripped everything out of her room, right? We had picked the paint colors, we had picked the new carpet colors, we had ordered new furniture and all of that kind of stuff. And then we got in there and we started taping the room so that we could paint it. And we quickly knew that we were outside of our depth. But that was our foray into DIY. Do it yourself. Okay. So there is, in terms of your 4 types of solutions. Okay. Back on schedule. DIY, you have the do it yourself, the DWY, done with you solution, a DFY, done for you solution, and an SBS, a systems-based solution. Let's take a look at what each one of those are. So imagine that I was an individual that was struggling with my weight. And yes, there was a season that I was struggling with my weight. I probably was about 20 to 25 pounds heavier than I wanted to be. So I was actually struggling with my weight. And so what is the problem? Well, the problem is that I was struggling with my weight and I didn't know what my options are. And when you think about it, that is what your clients, the individuals that you are called to serve, they are going to be asking themselves, or knowing that they have a problem, but asking, where do I go and how do I solve the problem that I have? So with me, I was trying to figure out how was I going to solve this problem, because there were just things that I was doing and I didn't get the results that I was looking for. So, right, as a 7-figure woman, that there are options that you can provide to your clients. So let's take a look at the 4 types of solutions that you can offer to them. And so the first one is DIY, do it yourself. And you let your clients know that this is what you could do. So there were absolutely things that I could do, like running in the park and walking and all of those different things, right? And the second option is a done with you. And so I actually did go that route where it was a done with you solution. So I got a trainer, I went into the gym, and we met 3 times a week, and I was working out with him, and he was showing me everything that I needed to do. Now, why was this a step up? Well, I started with my do it yourself. So I got a trusty little app on my phone, and it had a couple of different exercise programs that walked me through like a 90-day process. And I was doing that. But what I found is that as I was doing squats on the Murphy machine, my knee just kept giving me and taking me through the ringer, and I couldn't figure out why. So I was in LA Fitness, and so I went to one of the trainers that was just kind of floating around, and I'm like, hey, just have a quick question for you. My knee is killing me every time I do a squat with this machine, and I'm trying to figure out why. And he said, well, let's go over to the machine and show me what you're doing. And as I was doing that, he let me know that my knee was not properly aligned. And so every time I did a squat, this was the reason why. And so I said to myself, in terms of what kind of solutions could I be participating in, that I wanted to add inside of the mix, where there would be a couple of days of the week that I would meet with a trainer so that he could train me in the proper ways and I wouldn't have knee problems. The third solution is a done for you solution. And so I'm happy to say that I didn't have to go to, the surgeon and have him suck out the fat with liposuction, but done for you solutions are completely done for the client. And there are times when, especially, and we had these times in the consulting world, where we would go in and not only would we make the recommendations and show them what to do, but we would actually do all of the work because it wasn't their area of expertise, and the learning curve for them would have been too steep, that it would not have been beneficial, especially within the time frame that they were working in. So a done for you solution is a complete package, a complete system that is put together, or that you put together, and you have the ability to offer it to your clients. And finally, we have the systems-based solution. Now, the systems-based solution, in terms of cost, it's probably the least expensive on a month-to-month basis, but it garners the biggest return on their investment with you and in terms of your revenue stream, because it is something that is consistently coming in month after month after month. So we have this system-based solution, and everyone knows I'm from Chicago. And this is Jennifer Hudson, and she is from Chicago too. And so she was a spokesperson for one of those system-based solutions that we know so well. So let's think about this. How you solve the problem matters, right? So again, we have 4 types of solutions, and we understand that how we solve the problem matters. And so let's dive. Again, we are layering, right, this cake here. So we understand at our base, our core is that we solve problems. And we know that how we solve the problem, that it directly correlates to the amount of revenue that we'll generate. So when we begin to ask ourselves a very powerful question, that question is, well, what type of business am I in, and how do I want to serve individuals? And with that, you say, I can either have a boutique model or a volume model. And once you determine, and neither one is right or wrong, it is just what is best for you and how you want to show up in the marketplace. So once you determine boutique or volume, then you come back around and you ask yourself, well, what are the solutions that I provide? And again, as we are layering this cake and putting layer upon layer, you want to ensure that you have minimally 4 solutions. What are those 4 solutions? Do it yourself. So that can be a self-help book that you write, an academic program that you put out there. So it's do it yourself. They come to you, you provide them with the solution that they can then go and do themselves, like the app that I had when I was working on my weight. And then you have a done with you solution where they can work and partner with you, a completely done for you solution where you are doing all the work and you just do the big reveal and say, ta-da! and then a systems-based solution that allows them to be engaged in the conversation and in the solution with you over and over and over again in a recurring way. So now we're moving and we are dissecting a little bit further and going a little bit deeper. And so we want to first categorize our solutions. And so we did that: DIY, DWY, DFY, and SBS. The second thing that we're going to do is assign pricing based on how we have solved the problem. So what does that look like? Now, when you have a do-it-yourself, which is like go to the gym on your own, you have one price. I am a member of LA Fitness, and so every month I pay like $29.95, and I go to the gym and I do that myself. A done with you solution, that's a little bit pricier because they get more access to you when they are doing it with you. So again, when I was with my trainer, he was doing the work with me, or I was doing the work. He was instructing me on how to get the work done, but we were partnering together in that way. And so it's a little bit pricier. Done for you solution, if I had gone to have cosmetic surgery and have the surgeon go ahead and do it, I mean, I'm sure, well, I won't say anyone, but I have priced it out with some of my friends. If we were to go and do liposuction or freeze suction or whatever that looks like, but that definitely would have been a little bit pricier. And then the systems-based solution, again, it's lower in terms of the recurring cost, but it winds up generating more money because, let's face it, I have a gym membership to LA Fitness, and I am paying them $29.95 every month. But do I go as consistently? Are there some months that I'm like, oh, I didn't get there? Yeah, but it is one of those things that I've been a member with LA Fitness for probably 10 years now. So when we calculate all of that up, that could have paid for my surgery, a year's work with training, and a couple of other things thrown in there. So again, how you solve the problem matters, and you want to categorize what solutions in your wheelhouse you have, and then you want to begin to assign a value to that. So this is really, really important because we are getting ready to learn the aggregated revenue model. And so we are going to take kind of that SBS solution and we're going to apply it to this aggregated revenue model. Again, in our own way to understand how do we begin to manifest for ourselves these 7 figures, and it's because we have a methodology. So the first thing is we want to calculate our revenue stabilization point. We're going to calculate our revenue stabilization point. So go ahead and write that in the feed. Calculate my revenue stabilization point. But there is a unique principle that we must remember, that income is for me, revenue is for my company. Income is for me, revenue is for my company. And there is a distinction. So we are talking about your revenue stabilization point. As you begin to move into the world of entrepreneurship and you are now the CEO, it is your responsibility as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, to ensure that you are stabilizing your company's revenue before you take out your income. The principle, income is for me, revenue is for my company. So the first thing that you want to do in terms of, calculating your RSP is you want to set what your yearly revenue goal is going to be. Very, very important step. You want to make sure that you set what your yearly goal is going to be. So ask yourself, how much money do I want my company to generate within a year? All right. So just for example's sake, and we're going to walk through how you begin to calculate everything in the next few moments, you want to ensure that you are making a request of the universe, if you will, and of yourself that includes not only the revenue that you need to stabilize your company, but also then being able to have income for yourself. So we're going to go with an easy number. And let's say that number is 120,000, right? Very easy. So the first thing, and again, this is kind of one of those principal things, but we apply it to other areas in our life, but not necessarily our business. And so the question then becomes, because everything starts with the question, how do you eat an elephant? And so the answer is you eat it bite by bite, bit by bit, right? You take a fork and a knife and you slowly begin to chip away at what seems like this behemoth of a mountain. So now we want to calculate our monthly revenue goal. So we have this yearly goal. And for a lot of us in our other space and careers or other things, we may have easily, made six figures. But when you become an entrepreneur, you're now responsible for stabilizing your revenue, whereas someone else was responsible for stabilizing the company's revenue that you were in, and you just received an income off of what it is that they were doing. But now the responsibility lies on you. So we don't want to be overwhelmed, and so we're going to bite this elephant bit by bit. So how are we going to do that? Very simple. We are going to divide our yearly revenue goal by 12. And that will begin to break this down so we have one small chunk or one small bite at a time. So again, let's use that imaginary number that I threw out there because we just want to make it very simple math, right? So we take our yearly goal of 120,000 and we divide that by 12. Can we get a drum roll, please? Absolutely. So that makes our monthly revenue goal for our company $10,000. Is that doable? Absolutely. You're looking at yourself and you're like, Spaulding, yeah, I can generate $10,000 a month. Not so fast, right? So again, we want to then take that and figure out, okay, well, how are we going to generate that? So how many solutions should you have inside of your business? You should have 4 solutions: do it yourself, done with you, done for you, and systems-based solution. So let's just say that we're going to go with the systems-based solution. And so we have that product in there. So let's determine the price of our monthly product. So our monthly product is going to be $100. So we're going to divide our monthly revenue goal by the price of our monthly product. And what that is going to give us is our revenue stabilization point. So let's take that 10,000, right? So we started off with 120,000 for the year. We've divided that by 12 months in the year. That gave us 10,000. We determined that our monthly product, which is part of our system-based solution, that product is going to be $100. And so when we take 10,000 and divide it by 100, what we end up with is 100 is our revenue stabilization point. Again, revenue is for my company. Income is for me. As the CEO, I am responsible for stabilizing the revenue that is generated inside of my company. And in order to do that, I have to know what my revenue stabilization point is, which means that once I hit 100, I have stabilized effectively my revenue. So again, say to yourself, I need to generate 100 members to stabilize my revenue. Again, remember, I go to LA Fitness and every month I am paying them $29.95, which means that in terms of their revenue stabilization point, I am a member and I hold membership there. And they are calculating what is the number that we have to hit every month in order for our revenue to be stable so we can keep the doors open, keep the equipment clean, pay the employees, yada, 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 and the list goes on. This is the same way that you begin thinking as an entrepreneur. What is going to be my revenue stabilization point? How do I stabilize that revenue? And what solution do I have or can offer that will aid in that? And so just in this scenario, we're using a systems-based solution and doing really simple, easy math. So your revenue stabilization point to balance everything out is 100. Whew. Do you know 100 people that's getting ready to pay you right now? I don't know if you do. So again, that number may seem, so big. And you have to ask yourself, well, go back to the principle. How do you eat an elephant? Real simple. Bite by bite. So let's go ahead and break this down a little bit further. So what would then be your next step? Things that make you go, All right. So here we are. So step 5 in the process is that we will divide our RSP, our revenue stabilization point, by 12 in a year. So our revenue stabilization point was what? 100. It was the number of members that we calculated. So we need to generate how many members a month. So we've got 100, we're dividing that by 12. So to meet my goal, you must generate, you must bring in 8 members a month. Okay? All right, so again, let's break that down because we want to ensure that we have revenue stabilization goals that are attainable and that you can believe in. Let me tell you something. The body will not act in opposition to what your core belief is. The body will not act in opposition to what your core belief is or your core beliefs are. If you have never been an entrepreneur, you can go out with the grandest of ideas and say that I am going to get 100 members this month so that I can stabilize my revenue. But because you have never done it before, you will not achieve it unless there is something. You've never done it before. You've never generated it. So it is not even a belief that you hold true about yourself and what it is that you can do. And so when we talk about having that success and the fulfillment that we want in our lives, the first thing in being successful is having a mindset that works and understanding and knowing the truth about yourself. There were things that I didn't know as I was going into and being an entrepreneur. I didn't have to worry about the marketing aspect of it when I was an employee. Yes, I had to figure out how to work with the clients and to get them what they need and to figure all, but I didn't necessarily have to go out and generate those clients into the pipeline. So it was not a belief that I held about myself that I was able to do it. So erroneously, part of the problem was when I went out into the entrepreneurial space and I was setting goals for myself, they were goals that I didn't believe in because I had never given myself an opportunity to learn what I needed to learn. But then the training came in and placing myself in an environment where that training could constantly be reinforced. And so there were things that happened that sabotaged me. I would get a little bit of traction and then I'd pull off the gas and stop for whatever reason. Or I would sabotage some of the efforts that I would have because my core belief was not that I was a marketer or a salesperson. I didn't believe that about myself. So we are having this conversation and talking about your revenue stabilization point because as we begin to set goals for ourselves, we have to set goals that are truly attainable and a goal that we can wrap our mind around, that we know we can believe in ourselves enough in order to generate. And that is where the fulfillment comes in. So we're going to do this and we're doing it bite by bite. So we are now going to break that number down even further. So we're going to divide the members that we say that we need to generate, and that number was 8, and we're going to divide it by the number of weeks in a year. And so that brings us to the number of members that we need to generate and bring inside of our business on a monthly basis. And on a weekly basis. And that is 2. So when I really began to break this down for myself and say, can you generate 2 members a week for a year? We started off and I stated we were going to learn the aggregated model, the revenue stabilization aggregated model. So this is in the aggregate. So what I am doing is that I am constantly adding on instead of going out and pulling in 100 clients at one time. Now, is it possible? Absolutely. And I don't want to say that something is not possible for you. But then the next question is that you wind up creating another problem, because if you brought in 100 people at one time, would you actually be able to service them? Are the foundation, the systems, the automations, the things that you need in place? Do you even have a corporate infrastructure to allow that? Materials that they need to get out. Do you have employees that can support that? Are your assistants in place? So the reality is that if you are starting a business and you are looking and asking yourself, what do I need to stabilize my revenue? Pulling in 100 individuals at one time will more likely than not destabilize any efforts that you have put in place. But if we are looking at it in the aggregate, one, it's a belief that we can wrap our mind around, that yes, I can have enough conversations with enough individuals and focus on closing 2 individuals at $100 a month for a year. Because if I do that, then I will hit my aggregated, so this is in the aggregate of 100 clients, 100 members, that then stabilizes my revenue at $120,000 a year. So if you missed any part of this training and you didn't come at the beginning, there is an accompanying workbook for you. And when you actually go and download that workbook, we'll have an opportunity to get together and have some conversations around what it is that you're doing and how you can begin to think about the different types of solutions that you're looking for. So make sure that you download your workbook. You want to text 7 figures to 773-992-1652. Again, you want to text 7 figures to 773-992-1652. You'll have the ability to get your workbook, and then we can set up some time to get together and talk about all of the different solutions that you can have inside of your business. So what are your next steps? You just had this phenomenal training. You participating inside of the Successful and Fulfilled Summit. And what you want to do is go over to the Successful and Fulfilled interview.com. Again, that's successful and fulfilled interview.com. Why? Because we already know that there are going to be some additional things that you have to learn. And you must allow yourself to train with that new learning. And then with the things that you've learned, placing yourself in an environment that works for you, that supports you, and that nurtures you. And the Successful and Fulfilled Academy does just that. So I'm so excited to be here and to provide this training with you for my very good friend, Kim Warren Martin. So make sure that you go over to www.successfulandfulfilledinterview.com so you can stay a part of the conversation and be in an environment that actually works with and for you so that you can live your most successful and fulfilled life. Again, my name is E.R. Spaulding, and I'm so very happy to have been able to be here with you to share a couple of business basics on the methodology that you can employ in your life in order to generate the 7 figures that you've been looking for. And with that, I will talk with you later.
Hi, I'm Kim Warren Martin, and I'm the founder of Successful and Fulfilled, where our mission is to help women to embrace the courage I know you already have to step out of your comfort zone and live life the way you want to live, not just the way you're expected to live. It's not about leaving your job, your family, or school, or any of that. It's about launching into what I call the #undeniable you. So if you want to be a part of a mastermind and enjoy the type of training and support you're receiving now, where experts talk about components of self-mastery, business principles, and wealth building, If you're looking to make sure you're connected to a resource that is all about supporting you to live a successful and fulfilled lifestyle, come on over to www.successfulandfulfilledinterview.com now. I want to meet with you to make sure it's a good fit. If you want to be a part of this movement of individuals dedicated to not only the emotional state of happiness, but also the soulful state of fulfillment, I invite you to a private conversation to make sure you learn more about us and we learn more about you. Come on over to www.successfulandfulfilledinterview.com now. It is a great way for me to learn more about what you want to be successful, about what you need to be fulfilled, and what's most important to you in your life. This is a highly customized membership, so we are very selective. And so I want to meet with you to be sure it's a good fit for both of us. If you're ready to share your talents, your skills, your treasure, your expertise so someone else can live a successful and fulfilled life, this is the place to be. Maybe you want to share your story, or maybe you're called to serve others. If you want to collaborate, network, and connect with a group of women who have this one guiding belief: you don't have to sacrifice your success for fulfillment, nor do you have to sacrifice your fulfillment for success. You can #have it all, as long as you're the one who defines what it all is. So I invite you to come over to www.successfulandfulfilledinterview.com. Make sure you register and I'll see you there. Now you may be wondering, why do I care? Why do I do what I do? Well, my big why is to help women all over the world live life the way they want to live, the way they're called to live, the way they're created to live, the way they're purposed to live, and the way they're destined to live, not just the way they're expected to live. George Washington Carver said, "No individual has any right to come into the world and go out of it without leaving distinct and legitimate reasons for having passed through it." Growing up, I was absolutely convinced that singing and dancing on Broadway and being in movies in Hollywood were my distinct and legitimate reasons for being here. I could already see my name in lights and experiencing the costume changes, etc., etc. I even planned to go to performing arts school for college, but was waiting on the perfect time to announce it to my parents. Now, when I was a senior in high school, my parents invited me into the living room one night because they had an announcement of their own. They said that according to the Wall Street Journal, engineering and computing careers would be some of the top careers of the future. So because I was the oldest and because I was a role model, they were going to send me to engineering school. Now, all I could think of, my 18-year-old self was just like, how am I going to get an Oscar at engineering school? Literally, I felt like my entire life rested on that moment. Now, no amount of respectful rejecting could change their mind. So I went to school. I went to engineering school, and 2 years and 8 months later, I came out with a Bachelor of Science degree. Yes, I did, in a short time. And what I thought I had was my freedom. I thought that paper gave me my freedom and would please my parents. But I got a job, a real job. The money got good. I got promoted. The perks were awesome. I did well. And I was a wonderful role model, and my sisters followed closely in my footsteps. So there I was, a very artsy, analytical person in a scientific, technical world. And someone realized that about me and called me up one night and invited me to run the women's initiative for this multinational corporation. So my role was to help women get to the top on the technical side and on the business side. So I thought about it a couple of days and I said yes. And I did that globally. And I was literally told I changed the face of the corporation. One day I was working with a woman who actually told me no. She didn't want to get to the top. Now, I was absolutely shocked, but deep inside, I totally understood her. And all I could hear was my dream asking me, you know, Kim, you spent all this time helping all these women get to where we want them to be, but you never stop to ask yourself, where do you want to be? I had completely lost sight of my dream. And at that moment, I realized that the only thing the role model in me was demonstrating was how to live life the way I was expected to live, not the way I wanted to live. I was successful, yes, but I was unfulfilled. And for me, that was a defining moment. You see, I still love the arts, but what I realized is that the singing, the dancing, the acting were more about freedom for me, not entertainment. freedom of expression, freedom of being, freedom of doing. And working with women all over the world, I have come to realize that every woman was born to live in a soulful state of fulfillment. And ladies, we can do it because fulfillment is not a fantasy, it's a formula. And what I do know is I am not alone. There are other women out there like me who want to live a successful and fulfilled life. So is that you? If so, here's what I want you to do. Come on over to www.successfulandfulfilledinterview.com and let's have a conversation. I really look forward to seeing you there. Enjoy the rest of the summit.